Right, don't adjust your TV. The keys have been given to the asylum to the patient. I am your host. Welcome to the UK and Ireland Minnesota Vikings fan club. Tonight, because I'm in control, I get to decide what we talk about, I guess. But in terms of what we're running through, we will talk through the conference games that happened over the weekend, and also think about how that feeds into what the Super Bowl is going to look like. Then we are going to speak to our guest. We have a special guest today who we'll introduce in a moment. And finally, we'll then recap and have a reminder around our awards, just to remind you, because we're still collating the votes. So it's just a refresher for that and any other nonsense that comes along the way. Right, without further ado, Darren, run the titles.
Minnesota Vikings Fan Club Podcast.
Right, so as you will see, we have a fresh face on the show today, but we are first joined by TPJ, our content aficionado and owner, and then we also have this evening, apart from a dog that you might hear in the background, yes, we have professional quarterback and Vikings fan Connor Tate. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yes,
thrown in at the deep end. He's getting the cliches out of the way.
Getting the timing down. Getting the cadence down.
Exactly. As the puppy is going mad, sometimes she makes a cameo appearance, and she obviously is keen to do that today. But yes, so I think we'll let's just get into it. Let's jump into it. We will come back to you, Connor, and hear all about you in a little bit. But so there were a couple of games to discuss this weekend, so let's do that first, and then we'll come back to you, Connor, and give you the main part of the show to get to know you. So I think you did. I assume you both watched the games this evening,
yeah,
or last night, I should say.
Indeed,
If we start with the Patriots at Denver, DPJ, were you going to take that one, or was that going to be Connor?
Yeah, well, I didn't stay up for the Rams Seahawks game. I saw the first quarter, and I've just managed to catch up on the highlights before coming on now, and that was a hell of a game. But yeah, like you say, we'll get on to that one in a bit. We'll start with Patriots at Broncos, and these were two fantastic teams, I think, going into this game. But looking at the scoreline, you wouldn't think it. The key to this one was actually watching the game and realizing that the second half was completely snowed out. Receivers, quarterbacks couldn't see receivers. DBs couldn't see the ball. It was very, very difficult to get any sort of offense going in the second half. In fact, there was only a field goal in the second half from Andres Borregales. So the Broncos took the lead in the first quarter thanks to a Cortland Sutton catch from stand-in quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who I think for a backup guy who hasn't started a game for like 2 years, what was it? Like maybe 2018 was his last regular season start, and I don't think he's ever started a playoff game. So I thought he looked pretty good in that first half, and like I say, he was the guy who found Cortland Sutton in the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. Drake May, though, really took the game by the scruff of the neck, running in for a 6-yard touchdown with about 2 minutes left to go in the first half. By that point, the snow wasn't too bad, but yeah, it really started to come down in the second half. And yeah, like I say, that field goal from Borregales was the only point. It really was. You can't even say it was a defensive masterclass. The snow almost, I don't want to say ruined the game, but it kind of ruined the game.
Yeah, indeed. Connor, did you watch the game?
I did watch the game, and what happened was coaching malpractice, because the Broncos are up 7-0, and there's a blizzard on the way, and the whole of America is shut down at the moment. And so we knew the weather was coming in. Broncos are up 7-0, and they have 4th and 1. And they have the opportunity to go up and make it 10-0 with a relatively easy field goal for Will Lutz. And instead, they run the favorite 4th and 1 play of every single NFL franchise right now, which is that PA halfback sprint garbage, which everyone knows how to defend. And they paid the price, and they never scored another point the rest of the day. That is where the game was won and lost. That one moment, this greed for going for it on 4th down. In the playoffs, you take your points. And especially when you know the weather front's coming in like that, take your points. That would have been a long way back for New England, down 2 scores. Instead, the game flipped on its head. Stidham made that mistake. They tied it up, and then the field goal in the second half was enough to win the game. Brutal from Sean Payton. I expected better.
Yeah, I thought the same. I think actually Mike Vrabel coached it way better. Like he and his team dealt with the snow a lot better. And obviously they had that field goal. But there was one play that that really stuck out for me. It was the flea flicker long pass. Can't remember who caught it, but it was the perfect play for the conditions, because the Patriots knew where the ball had to go, and the Broncos, they couldn't adjust in the reduced visibility. So that really stuck out for me. I'd love to hear what you thought of both that play, Connor, and also like how you thought Jarrett Stidham got on as a backup QB.
Yeah, the play call was sensational. I mean, very risky in those conditions. That sort of ball handling between the running back and the quarterback is not as easy as it looks from the stands or through the screen. That's difficult. So that was really well executed, but Vrabel had enough trust in his guys to go and execute, and they did. So great call. In terms of Jarrett Stidham, I thought he played well. You got to take the sack in that situation instead of the fumble play, which gave New England the short field for their touchdown, though. That's a big mistake. Thought he looked shaky the first couple of throws. Obviously, he hit the big bomb on the post early on to settle his nerves. But that's the sort of mistake that we didn't see out of Sam Darnold last night, that we did see out of Jarrett Stidham, that we didn't see out of Drake May. That's the difference. You got to take a sack there. Even if it's grounding, it doesn't make a difference. It's lost it down. It's just fall on the ground. Just fall on the ground and punt it away and play field position. And that's the lack of experience over the past 2 years. I think you saw that from Stidham. And in a playoff game and AFC Championship, that's all it takes to swing it.
That was something that we had to deal with as Vikings fans, obviously, this year, with a backup quarterback not taking a sack and giving up a turnover in the end.
Yeah.
And we saw it against, and we're going to be talking about the Seahawks in a bit. It was against the Seahawks that Max Brosma had his brain fart. But yeah, it obviously New England winning the AFC Championship for I think the 12th time in their history. This will be their 12th Super Bowl. They're currently 6-5. Are they going to make it 7-5 or go 6-6? I guess we'll talk about the Super Bowl.
We'll come later to that in a minute. Absolutely. So before we move on to the next game, obviously the snow, as you say. I mean, I did watch the game. It wasn't enjoyable from a spectator point of view. So it raises that age-old question again that comes around. I just want to get both of your opinions on this in terms of not so much during the regular season, but in playoff games, and certainly when we get to Super Bowls and so forth. Do we think that stadiums should, certainly new stadiums that are being built, should always be built with some ability to have a roof, either a set roof or a retractable roof, or do we think the snow and adverse weather still, plays a role in it being, ultimately entertainment from a fan's perspective? So Connor, I'd come to you first on that one.
How many playoff teams this year have a dome?
I couldn't tell you.
One. Houston Texans.
One, I think.
There's not going to be a single dome game in the playoffs this year. I am absolutely against that. I hate that idea. Football is about battling the elements. We talk about December football. Football gets real after Thanksgiving. December, January, playoff time, real hard-nosed football. If you don't want to play in Chicago or you don't want to play in Denver, win the conference. right? That's the whole reason we go through 18 weeks of all this NFL season. So you can put yourself in that position. I think that's an absolute load of rubbish. You got to battle the elements. Football's about that. And you saw a team in New England that played a lot better to those elements than Denver. They managed it a lot better. That's a huge element of football. If we lose that, it's turning into flag football. I don't like that at all.
What about yourself, TPJ? And I guess there's two parts from my perspective, just to add context in terms of that. You've got ultimately the player, and I agree with everything you were saying, Connor, but ultimately there is also an entertainment point from an NFL perspective, and I wonder whether the NFL see those games as being challenging from a spectator perspective. What's your thoughts, TPJ?
I think that there is an argument that a snow game can be entertaining. Like watching how those players and coaches deal with the elements. And also, I would say teams have a right to have a stadium however they want it so that they can, maximize their home field advantage. If a team goes into Lambeau Field, you're going to be freezing your knackers off. Or going into Gillette Stadium in deepest, darkest December. I am surprised that Denver didn't deal with the elements quite so well as New England, because obviously they were playing at home. Like, you kind of have to expect that kind of weather in Denver in December, January. But then again, they haven't really made many playoff runs in recent years, so it might be a new thing for a lot of those players.
Absolutely. Okie dokie. Right, so that's one game done. Connor, you have the luxury of discussing the shootout that was the Seattle versus the LA Rams in Seattle. So, how did you find it?
What a game. What a privilege to be able to watch that shootout. I mean, the two best teams in the NFC made it to the NFC Championship this year. Two brilliant quarterbacks, two brilliant head coaches going after each other for 60 minutes. And I think overall, on the balance of everything, the best team won. And defensively, Seattle are stronger than LA. And it came through right at the end. That said, they shut him down with 5 minutes to go. And who came onto the field to ice the game? Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was just terrific. 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, his pocket presence, his footwork, he is an elite NFL quarterback. There's no big game too big for him anymore. That has long since been quashed. He was outstanding, and I think he'll win the Super Bowl. And I think as Minnesota Vikings fans, pretty bitter pill to swallow watching him lift the Lombardi in 2 weeks' time. Even if he doesn't, it's still a bitter pill to swallow, right? To let him walk. He's an outstanding quarterback, and what a story for any young quarterback watching. It doesn't necessarily work out straight away, but if you keep fighting at it, you got a chance, and you got to take your chance when it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, from a personal point of view, I like Sam, and I want Sam to do well. But I do know that if he lifts, well, even now, let's be honest, the next 2 weeks are going to be the Vikings fan base with their 2020 hindsight is going to be a bit of a nightmare to. It's going to be a lot of grumbling going on. But if he lifts that Lombardi Trophy, which, like you, I have a feeling is going to happen. It's going to be a fun off season in the Vikings fan base. Obviously, you only caught up with it, TPJ, but I loved watching the game. I thought it was just a great spectacle to watch. That's the sort of entertaining games that you want to be seeing with two great teams going at it, offensively and defensively. But yeah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I like you say, these two teams are fantastic, both on offense and on defense. You got two, certainly one Hall of Fame bound quarterback, and one who could end up with at least one ring by the end of this season. And then you've got the likes of Jackson Smith and Jigba going up against Puka Nacua on opposing teams. You've got Kyron Williams running back for Los Angeles, and you've got Kenneth Walker doing it for the Seahawks. Like it was a fantastic game to watch, and I think in a way the game came down to two big moments. I'll get that word out if it kills me. But we It was
how what size were they?
big
Really big, huh?
moments.
Okay, just checking.
Really big. It was, first of all, it was the muffed punt by the Rams that set up the Seahawks in perfect field position. And who was it? It was Jake Bobo with the 17-yard catch. Straight away after the muff punt, the guy who's caught maybe, I think, 4 passes all season comes on, catches the ball from Sam Darnold, and perfect. And then at the very end, you've got the Rams, who they could have gone for a field goal to get within 3, but they decided to go for a 4th and 4.
4th and 4. Take your points.
Got to take your points, but at the same time, they were 4 points down, and there was no guarantee that they were ever going to get the ball back. And honestly, I think, obviously you want to back your defense. You want to say, get the points. But with form, I think there was only a couple of minutes left in the game to have that opportunity to really stick the dagger in. You've got to go for a touchdown, take the lead, and then trust your defense to hold Seattle to a field goal, potentially to take it to overtime. And I think it was the right call from Sean McVay. I can see you disagree, but I think with playing the numbers, I think going for the touchdown was the right call there.
Well, here's a hypothetical for you. Let's say they kick the field goal and they're then down by 1, right? And then they kick off to Seattle, and the Shaheed houses it, and Seattle score, and you're going, oh no, they're only down by 8 points. It's a 1-score game, and they got the ball back with 5 minutes left. That's a whole different dynamic. Let them score even, right? But ideally, you're going to stop them, and you're going to get the ball back down 1 with a 2-minute drill or something like that. But hypothetically speaking, you could have gone down by 1, kicked Shaheed the ball, let him take it to the crib, and you're still only down by 1 score. And what happened was they were down by 4 points.
That's true.
And they got the ball with 20 seconds left. Just to double back to your Jake Bobo point, and great catch from Jake Bobo, but Sam Darnold, that was a sudden change situation because they got the ball off the muff punt. And in a sudden change situation, more often than not, an offensive coordinator will call a shot. You're trying to catch them while they're cold and really strike while the iron's hot. And they went for the shot to right-hand corner of the end zone, but I think it was Smith and Jigba out there was doubled. And it was a 2-man concept. So as a quarterback, your coordinator's in your ear, okay, we're going to take a shot. You got your guy out there in JSN. You're probably going to force it there, possibly. You're going to be like, okay, maybe I'll just put it in there anyway. But he came off that, seeing the safety rotation, to come back to a guy who caught 3 passes up until that point the entire year and put it right in his face mask. That's elite quarterback play. Was getting smashed in the mouth, by the way. He got rocked on that play too.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's a real deal.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's indicative of the change that we've seen in him since the last 2 games of last season, because he wasn't making those reads and making those checkdowns in the same way as he did in the NFC Championship last night. You've got to give the guy his flowers. Obviously, I think the MVP decision is made only on the regular season. It's not. It doesn't take postseason into regard. But I really think if it did, we might be looking at a Sam Darnold MVP situation. And who would have thought that 5 years ago?
I'm pretty certain no one on this call.
When the guy was jobbing around in Carolina and New York and Seattle, not Seattle, San Francisco.
San Fran, backing up Purdy. So absolutely. So obviously that leaves us with a Super Bowl of Sam Darnold versus Garrett Bradbury. Trying to shoehorn some sort of Viking-related material into this show. So how do we? Obviously, we've kind of alluded to both Connor and I have sort of said where we think the lifting of that trophy might go. But how do we think that game's going to go generally? Do we think that it will be a close game, or do we think there's a much clearer dominance one side of the coin versus the other? PPJ.
Yeah, I think the Seattle Seahawks showed yesterday that they can score points from anywhere. They did get bogged down a little bit in the in the first half. Like the first half of that game was pretty low scoring, I think. But they have, like I say, they've shown they can score points from anywhere. They're a very, very dangerous team. I know people say defense wins championships, but I think in this case it's going to be the offense that wins championships. Seattle do have a very good defense as well, but like when you've got, as I said, guys like JSN, and who would have thought like he would come out of DK Metcalf's shadow like this and pop off, and possibly I would hesitate to say rather that JSN might be the best receiver in the NFL right now.
He is. I was getting there,
like,
and I'll let you finish your point, but I was getting there. That's where I was going.
I hate to say it as a Justin Jefferson like stan, but JSN, and like for a guy with such a small frame, like he strikes me as more of a slot receiver, but he is definitely a WR1 like on any team in this league except maybe the Minnesota Vikings.
He glides. He's like a figure skater.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just magnificent the way he glides across the football field, and he has that just an air to him too, because they plug him in everywhere in the offense. You know, they put him into the backfield, they put him into the slot, they put him out wide. He can do it all. Sam Darnold's lucky to go from Jefferson to JSN. Is I mean, sometimes you got to get lucky as a quarterback too, but he is.
Well, and having guys like Cooper Kupp as well, and having and Jake Bobo, obviously he's shown that he can reel them in too.
And the backfield they have, the run game in Seattle, it's very complimentary to it all, isn't it? But they've just been awesome.
Yeah, they have really missed Zach Charbonnet this season, but well, I say really missed.
Well, they only lost
the last game.
In the last game, really. He's been there as a backup.
They didn't struggle that much, to be honest.
No, exactly. That's I caught myself. I caught myself saying it. Like he obviously is a useful backup player, but to put all that load on Kenneth Walker, like he might be the second best running back in the league right now. I don't know, but I do. What I do know is that I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
So, Connor, my question to you, because as you've already mentioned earlier, you see that Sam Darnold will be lifting that Lombardi trading sheet, so we already know from that you think Seattle will win it. What do you think the Patriots need to do to potentially change that, in your view? What would the Patriots need to do in terms of their way that they would go against the Seattle? What have they got to stop Seattle doing? How do they do that, I guess? What do you think?
First thing they've got to do is start scoring points, because you're not going to stop Seattle scoring points too much. And the New England Patriots have made it to the Super Bowl by scoring the fewest amount of points since the 70s. There's not been a good playoff run offensively by the Patriots. Now, weather has played a big factor in that. The two last games they've had have been atrocious weather games. But they need to score. And the weather should be good in Santa Clara. So let's get back on it, Drake May. Then, how do you beat Sam Darnold? You get him into one of those funks that we've seen as Vikings fans in the last 2 games of the season. You get in his face. You get him on the ground. You hit him hard. You hit him early. Hit him in his obliques, because that's where he's hurting right now. You got to get him into one of those ghost modes. You know, that still lingers in the back of a quarterback's brain. I've got interceptions from years ago that I still remember drifting off to sleep, and I'm like, damn, yeah. So you got to try and get that, get him into a funk in this game, because he's looked steely rock solid so far throughout this playoff run, and since they put the Rams down on the Thursday night game, which ultimately got them the 1 seed. He's just been rock solid. So you got to try and throw him off his rhythm, and they got to throw the kitchen sink at him defensively. I think if anyone can do it, it's New England. They have a strong defense. Mike Vrabel's a brilliant coach. If anyone can do it, it's them. But I think the Seahawks are just too good, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all on the same page. I think I can't see. I think it'll be a close game, because it's a Super Bowl and there will be nerves. These are 2 teams that have not been anywhere near this height for quite some time. So I expect mistakes from both sides. But I think, yeah, just in terms of the quality of players they've got.
You say that though, but like the NFC Championship is a very scary moment for anyone to go into. I mean, that's a huge stage. Devontae Adams is 0-5 now in NFC Championships. So it's a scary moment. Yet they came out on that opening drive, and what does he do? He drops that diamond to Shaheed. There was no nerves. I just don't think there's a moment too big. I think the Super Bowl NFC Championship, NFC Divisional, primetime Thursday night lights, LA Rams, hoodoo. Nothing has shook him this year. I don't think. I think he's unshakable this year.
Yeah, and sorry, just to be clear, I'm not necessarily saying it would be the quarterbacks that are making those mistakes. I think there will be players that will be feeling the nerves, and it could happen on defense side. It could be anything from as we've already seen, silly muffed punts. It could those things. I expect to see some sort of things. I guess to some extent it's going to be who can hold their nerve collectively the best. So that's the Super Bowl. We're all on the Seahawk bandwagon. Come on, Sam Darnold. That's what I say.
They're going to be trying to get some revenge for Super Bowl 49.
Absolutely. So before we'll very much touch on this one because it's in the programs, and I don't want to deviate too much from the hard work that TPJ does into putting into these shows. The Pro Bowl game that obviously sits in the middle. Very different over the last couple of years now that it's flag football, and this is the first year in I don't know how many that there is no, unless there's been, I've missed, but I don't think so, unless there's been some sort of call up as a backup. I saw that Shador Saunders had been called up. I don't know how that's happened.
Has he actually?
I saw that today.
He'll be there.
Wow.
But I don't think there's any Vikings players in this for the first time in a long time.
That was something I was going to bring up actually. But yeah, sorry, finish your point.
But yeah, so do you watch it? Do you get into it? Is it? Do we enjoy it, or do we think it's just it's lost its luster over the last few years? But yeah, TPJ, I'll give the floor to you as you had some things to cover.
Well, I don't watch it live. I'll watch the clips back. Like I'm not staying up for the Pro Bowl. I do enjoy it. I think it's excuse me. I think it's a fun thing. I always used to like it when it was like a proper game in inverted commas, not flag, because you got to see guys like Jeff Saturday. I remember over a decade ago now, but he I think they got him a touchdown. That as a center. Receiving a pass from his ex-quarterback, Peyton Manning. They switched him up because he was playing for the Packers at the time and Manning was still at the Colts. They switched him over to the AFC team for like one play. They ran sort of like a hook and ladder type thing and lateraled it to Saturday and got him running in for a touchdown, which was a nice thing to see. Obviously, it's not competitive, but it's a cute thing for fans to watch. But I do like also what they've done with it for the last few years, having some skills challenges and making it into like a best of three flag football sort of thing.
How about yourself, Connor? Are you a fan of the Pro Bowl or?
It's an accolade. Congrats to the guys that make it. It's not thrilling. To be honest, they don't even need the flag game now at this stage. Just have the skill games. Have them go, sign autographs and do some one-handed catches and stuff. That's more than enough. The flag is a total waste of time. The only thing is they're trying to promote flag football around the world. There's a big initiative going on for that. And I am a big advocate of flag football, especially for younger kids who don't need to be taking those big hits to the head. So keep them out of contact for as long as possible. I'm all for that. But in terms of actually a spectacle and staying up and watching it, no.
Yeah, agreed.
Well,
it's not one that I am staying up and wasting my precious beauty sleep on. Absolutely, and boy, do I need it.
I am wondering though, with the Seahawks making it to the Super Bowl, obviously, so Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Devin Witherspoon, and Rashid Shaheed will not be going to the Pro Bowl. Are there any Vikings at any of their positions who could step up? I'm going to say it right now. JJ McCarthy is not getting called up to the Pro Bowl to replace Sam Darnold. But is there no possibility that Justin Jefferson comes in to replace Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Damn, off the top of my head, I have no idea who's in that shortlist. If I'm being totally honest, of who was on the cusp.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking. So you've got, like I say, you've got quarterback Sam Darnold. We're not replacing him. JJ McCarthy's not going. Wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. You got Justin Jefferson as a potential guy, but yeah, who else is in the running? Defensive end, DeMarcus Lawrence won't be going, so there's a possibility that maybe Andrew Van Ginkel gets a call up.
Bernard.
Yeah, Grenard as well, but I think Gink probably has the edge on him for performances. No pun intended. And then defensive tackle Leonard Williams. I don't think Jalen Redmond's going, despite the season he's had for us. Neither Javon Hargrave or Jonathan Allen. And then cornerback, there's absolutely no chance any Vikings are going in Devon Witherspoon's in his place. And then Rashid Shaheed, Miles Price won't be going to replace him. So I think Justin Jefferson might be the only one.
JJ might get a call. He might get a call.
Yeah.
I think to some extent it's who hasn't gone on their hollybobs and is still around as well. So yeah, we'll see. But like I say, I think I agree. I think it's good. It's a bit of fun entertainment to watch and put on in the background after the event, similar to the NFL honors. I don't tend to stay up and watch that, but I will watch it back and those sorts of things. But I agree with Connor. Obviously, the flag football is the big push for the NFL at the moment, promoting that. So it's their big event to showcase flag football with, and obviously that and the Olympics coming up soon with it being in that as well. Okay, right. The time has come, Connor, where you get grilled. Firstly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
So yeah, let's find out a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're an NFL fan and Viking fan first. So one of the questions we always ask guests on the show initially is, especially those that are not from the US and Minnesota explicitly, why the hell did you pick the Vikings? And how did you get into the NFL as a whole?
Yeah, it turned out a bad choice. But 2017, I fell in love with Minnesota and the run they were going on. And I picked them. I've always been a little unorthodox in who I support. I grew up in Dublin, but I was a Benfica fan. So that was, it wasn't the standard Man United or Liverpool or Chelsea. So I wanted to choose someone a little outside of the box. And, New England was obviously an option. At the time, they were on their big run, and Kansas City were just starting to come strong. But Minnesota felt like a good choice, and they were on this magical run. They were supposed to host the Super Bowl, and they blew it in Philly. So big time. And that was actually it peaked. It peaked in my first week of fandom. That was as good as it's been in the last 8 years, which is rather ironic. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I really enjoy watching Minnesota football and the community around it. So. Yeah, I'm happy with my choice despite the lack of Lombardis.
And the NFL as a whole, so obviously you became a Vikings fan in 2017 on that wonderful Minneapolis Miracle year, which installed a tattoo on my arm, so that's why it's memorable in mine. Diggs, unfortunately, can't do anything too ridiculous because he's now on my arm. I might have to change the number if he gets arrested and goes to jail.
Might get a ring next week.
Yeah, exactly. But what brought you into the NFL generally? Was that the start of that as well, or did you follow the NFL initially, sort of more casually and without a fandom? That
was the start of it, really. And then as COVID came along, I had a lot more free time on my hands. So that suddenly Jacksonville against Tennessee on a Thursday night, kicking off at 1 a.m, seemed like something I wanted to spend my time on. And then when it came to playing professional quarterback, you got to be invested in football. I always say to people when they start playing football and they don't know what they're talking about, don't come into the locker room unless you've watched 6 months of football and you know how to talk football, because it's just such a serious sport. There's a lot to learn and digest. So you really got to know what you're talking about before you come in, because guys take it really seriously, because it's a contact sport and it's the real deal. So. It all kind of tied into one, and the NFL is the best product on earth. So why not?
Sounds wonderful. So as a Vikings fan, obviously spoke about it being peaked from 2017. So obviously the Minneapolis Miracle, I'm sure, is one answer to this question. But other highlights, other great moments that you've enjoyed in your Viking fandom that you like to call out that stick in the mind?
Sure. I mean, the Seahawks are in fashion at the moment. So let's go back to a Seahawks game. And, one that sticks out to me as a quarterback myself is 2021, week 3. And it was the first game in US Bank Stadium with the fans back in after COVID. The Vikings started the year 0-2, so they really needed this one. And they'd had 3 straight years in a row of going to Seattle to play and always losing on a Monday night, a Sunday night.
Yep.
And Minnesota and Kirk Cousins in particular put on an absolute clinic at US Bank Stadium. And the one moment in particular which sealed the game was about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Seattle brought the house, and the Vikings were up by 2 scores, and Cousins took this quick drop, got deep, identified the free rusher, and just ripped it over the middle on this shallow cross to KJ Osborne, and the place just erupted. And the camera shot that Fox gave was Kirk just the steely glare pointing to the sideline at Zimmer, like, I got this. And that for me was one of the best quarterbacking performances I've ever watched. Like, I studied the All-22 on that for hours and hours and hours to try and improve myself. And that was one moment to me that probably no one remembers because that was a sort of dead season. But that stuck out to me as like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I love football and I love quarterback, and Kirk was just quarterback and it's such a high level. If Kirk Cousins was in if that version of Kirk Cousins in the Seattle Seahawks this year, he'd be playing in the Super Bowl. It's all time and place. It's all luck based. It really is. Right place, right time. And so yeah, that would be my moment, a specific moment to pick out.
God, you could tell that there was a kind of a frosty relationship between Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer at that point, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But absolutely, it's always nice. It's nice to hear something that isn't necessarily the obvious,
Minneapolis Miracle,
choices. The Minneapolis Miracle, or the Buffalo turnover is always a classic, or even the catch in that game from JJ a bit before that. Okay, so that's the Vikings, but obviously as part of the introduction, our viewers, all 3 of them, and the 10 listeners or whatever it is, will have also picked up on you as I introduce you as professional quarterback. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that. How is that in terms of being a professional? Who do you play for? What do you do? And also how you came about getting into the sport, and especially for anyone that's sort of listening that might be thinking of getting into the sport in sort of this country or in this region of Europe.
Well, most recently I played with the Lohja Crusaders in Finland. It's about 45 minutes outside of Helsinki. And actually 2 weeks ago I re-signed to play with them this season. So I'll be going back up there to Finland very shortly to start the season up there. Thank you very much. They're a great team. I love the guys up there, and Finland is an amazing country. So definitely blessed. People wonder, is quarterback really all it's shaped up to be? Is it a great job? The answer is yes. I have the best job in the world. I'm so lucky to do what I do. It is brutal though. There is nowhere to hide. It's tough. There are some really difficult days, and there's been a lot of hard work behind it. There's no shortcut to any young kid listening. Like, if they want to play football or they want to play quarterback in particular, it's a lot of hard work. Make sure you network young. That's definitely something that is really, really important and can't be overlooked. Make sure you're committed to it. Don't have backup options, so to speak, because if you're not all in on plan A, you won't make it to plan A. You got to be all in on plan A. And go for it and enjoy the ride, because it's going to be ups and downs, but enjoy the ups, man. Enjoy the ups while they last, because they're awesome. And you might win a game one week and you're great, and then the next week you're going to get beat up again. And it's this. So just, you're striving for consistency, but look, it's the best job in the world, and there's no shortcut to it. It's a lot of hard work and dedication.
Did you only start playing after sort of getting into it as a fan?
Yeah. So wow. I want to be a soccer player growing up. I mean, that was my dream. I watched the 2010 World Cup and Shabalala, goal for Africa, goal for all Africa, and that was me. I was set from the age of 4 or 5, really, even before South Africa, that I was going to be a professional soccer player. It never panned out. I got pretty unlucky. COVID hit when I was 19. So that was the worst moment that the world could shut down for me. Whether I would have made it or not without a pandemic, who knows? But it certainly didn't help. And I found that I had an opportunity to get into this industry, and I took it. And I worked at it. And 2 years after committing to it, I signed my first professional contract. So it is unorthodox. I don't know anyone else with my path. I wouldn't necessarily recommend my path, but if I can do it, anyone else can do it.
So who was that first contract with? Well, so you've found your way around Europe a bit.
Yeah.
Like, where have you played? Where did you start?
I went and played with the Aschaffenburg Stallions in Germany. It wasn't fully professional. I had to fund a lot of it myself, but I got good tape on there. And then after that, I signed with the Minden Wolves in Germany. That was my first professional deal at the end of 2022. And after that, I went back and played with Aschaffenburg again. In between that, I went up to Catalonia, played a winter season there, which was really interesting. I got an opportunity to play in the south of France last year. It was amazing. I mean, they took such good care of me, my goodness. And then up to Finland last year, which again was out of this world, and going back to Finland, blessed to go back there. So yeah, definitely been around the block, and just a lot of luck as well. I mean, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of luck, but I do believe that you create your own luck in this life. So yeah,
it sounds like you've managed to play pretty consistently. You haven't had any bad injuries or anything like that.
Why on earth would you say that? I mean,
I was just thinking,
yeah, my bad, guys. No, I'm not talking about the future, but I'm just talking like,
yeah,
what's like the worst? What's the worst hit you've taken? Like,
have you been beaten up? That's what you're
saying. Yeah.
So
yeah. my first season, I got through it pretty untouched. I got banged up a little bit, but pretty good. Second season, I got dinged in practice and I tore my ligament in my throwing elbow, which knocked me out for half the season. Then I got down to Catalonia, played 2 games, and then got sacked on the first play of the game, broke my left shoulder, was out for the rest of the season. Then went out to Germany, had about 5 weeks to rehab my broken shoulder, played the season, didn't necessarily go to plan, got very ill in Germany as well at the time. So that season I was definitely not at my full strength. Since then, it's been pretty plain sailing because I played every snap in France. My physios were brilliant. And in Finland, I played every snap too. So fingers crossed, the last 2 seasons have been really good. But up until then, I had a little rough patch. So you never know, man. You got to try and prep your body in the gym, and then you got to play smart football. But at the same time, you're going to get hit. What I will say to anyone watching that hasn't experienced football or being hit, are the big hits like a car crash? Yes, but it's not necessarily the big hits that put you in hospital. It's the innocuous ones. It's the guys falling at your legs. It's when you get tangled up or twisted. These are the ones that really knock you out for your season. The big hits are like, wow, that guy is strong. But you get up and you dust yourself off and it's next play. So that's the kind of contradiction that I guess maybe people watching would maybe not understand.
Yeah, the only reason I brought it up is because like we're talking about like giving advice to people who might want to get into the game, and like I think sometimes people have to realize like it's not all just highlight plays and big passes down the field, and like it's knowing how to protect yourself and like
there are guys that come to practice for their first tryout and they get hit and they don't come back, and I have all the respect in the world for those guys because they realize it's not for them. It's physical. It's more physical than it even looks through the TV screen. Even the small hits are like, wow, damn. But yeah, so you need to know what you're signing up for sure. But the guys that love it, they love it.
Absolutely. So I was just going to, in terms of going back to the beginning for you, obviously you're talking about football, as we would call it, soccer, as I now have to call it, just to differentiate. That was your dream. So then that, as you say, COVID and so forth played a part in that, but that didn't materialize. And then you moved into this quarterbacking, particular, obviously throwing. Yeah. Did you play any throwing sports growing up?
No.
No. So you literally just picked up a football and started lobbing it around, and just found you had a knack for it. Is that
I realized I probably wasn't going to make it in the soccer world, and I went, right, what's the hardest position in sports that I can take up instead? And I found quarterback. I mean, like, the truth is, I fell in love, not with the throwing element of quarterback, but just like the fact that this guy has all the control of the game. And it's funny because now that I'm a quarterback, I realize how little control we have actually as a quarterback. Yes, the ball's in my hand, but there's so many exterior elements that go on. But I fell in love with being able to put myself in a position to succeed through my preparation. And as a human being, I've always wanted to be prepared. And I felt like as a soccer player, there was only so much you could do, but a quarterback, there's a lot more control. So I love that element, and I chased it, and I've been absolutely blessed to get through 4 years now professionally, and long may it continue.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
What position did you play as a soccer player?
I played everywhere throughout growing up, but I finished up at fullback. I had 3 years at striker. I was always fast, so they put me when I was a really young kid in defense at fullback, because I had the nous to stay back and not actually run forward. But I would play fullback, and then we had one game where we just had nobody left to go and play striker at the weekend. So the coach came up to me and said, "You're fast. We're going to put you at striker because we have no one else and we need a goal." And I ended up scoring a hat trick that weekend, and we weren't even expected to win the game. So that kind of and I realized, damn, I like this. Like, I suddenly scored and everyone was running to me. I kind of like that. So I ended up playing striker for 3 years, and then when I really tried to chase professional, I converted back to fullback because I just felt like I was better at fullback than up top. But look, that wasn't my path, as it turns out, and I wouldn't change anything because this is even more cool, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So I
100%.
have one more question before
Yeah, go on.
this grilling of you is over. So obviously, as fans, even though some of us try not to, we're all armchair critics. We're all armchair coaches and GMs. As a professional quarterback and someone that plays the game, what are some of the myths, I guess, as fans that you hear fans saying about a quarterback or the game in general, that because you play the game and you know the inner workings of it, feel is an unfair criticism or is a myth that needs to be dispelled?
Well, okay, for example, let's say you got a trip. So it's a 3-by-1. You got 3 receivers on the right side and 1 on the left. Okay? And the quarterback, based on the coverage pre-snap and post-snap, has made the correct decision to read out the trip side. As it happens, the single side receiver happens to get open. But the quarterback's eyes are on the trip side. He gets to his second read on the trip side, and then he gets sacked. Skycam come on and they say, "Oh my goodness, why didn't he throw to 87? He's wide open." But in reality, there's nothing. He made the correct decision, and this is why I'm saying that there's so many elements that are actually out of the quarterback's control. If your left guard gets blown up, there's not much you can do about that. So that's one of the misconceptions, and that's why the quarterbacks are so good when they get to the podium and they get grilled by it. They just go, "Yeah, I got to do a better job." I mean, he knows he did nothing wrong in that situation, but you can't then go, "Well, my left guard got blown up, so what did you want me to do?" So that's
or X ran the wrong route,
exactly right. And one of the things that Carson Beck did the other day, which really wasn't good, is he did throw his receiver under the bus, and I'm sure he did run the wrong route. But you can't do it as a quarterback. Quarterback is all about accountability. Like I one of my lines is that like you have to take it all as a quarterback, even the good and the bad. But like the trade-off is you get to date the hottest women. Like that's the trade-off for quarterback, right? And I say that in the nicest way possible. But that's the reality of the position, is that you are the face of the team, and all the good that comes with quarterback, you have to take on the responsibility of the bad. And that means being there for your teammates who are also trying to win the game. So that's one misconception I think that would probably be seen in the quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely. I had a feeling that might be the classic freeze frame that gets shown around all social medias with big circles around a wide open receiver
don't ever hit me. Don't ever hit me with unless you're a former quarterback. Don't ever hit me with a still shot and be like, "Why didn't you do that?" The best quarterback coaches, the best offensive coaches, when you come to the sideline, instead of talking, they just say, "What did you see?" That's the best way you can open up with a quarterback. So, okay, now I'm going to get to explain myself. And I probably did it wrong. Maybe I was wrong. But it's like, he's not going to assume that, okay, I didn't see 87. Because maybe he didn't see the 6'6" guy in my face, or the edge pressure that came off, or that the snap went high this way. There's so many different elements to it. So if you if you can talk it out with your quarterback, both the quarterback and the coach and the fans, everybody wants to win. Let's just be adults about it and try and solve the problem so we don't make the same mistake again.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was great. Thank you, Connor. Right. So, we'll move on. We got.
Well, yeah. Just before we do move on, and just to say, people can read some of Connor's work that he's done for us on the website at ukvikingsfans.co.uk. Connor's been a great help writing a couple of our Skull from the Sofa features this season, and we'll also be able to watch you, I believe, on YouTube or something when your playing starts up in the summer.
Yeah, so I have a lot of content up on YouTube anyway from like my off-season work, that sort of stuff. But the actual new season will commence in June. Will be available on YouTube, to watch with the Lockyer Crusaders in Finland, or my YouTube channel Connor Tate. There'll be a lot of content up there about the season and the past seasons I've had already.
So we'll make sure that gets in the description of this podcast and on socials.
I might put something in the edit when we do that. So give me the details and we'll get that in there. We'll get that promoted for you. Absolutely right. There's somewhere around
here.
We'll just put it there. I don't know. Right. So we're nearly through, everyone. That was the best part. It was all downhill from now on. But TPJ, we got a little reminder. Obviously, we've got our own little awards that we're putting on for those that didn't watch a couple of episodes ago. Myself, TPJ, and the other usual idiots that are on here all came with their own nomination for a number of categories and tried to argue their case. So they've been floating around gathering your votes, and we're going to give you one more week, I think.
I think so. Yeah, we'll try and finish it off before the Super Bowl hits. Maybe we'll end it at the end of the month.
Yeah, so we'll end
bring it into it
when we get
at the same time as the Purple Pedal ends. We should probably plug that as well because that's only got a couple more days to go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, shall I run through the award categories? And
I was
thinking,
and the should we take a category each? So do you want to take the read through the nominees for the Offensive Player of the Year, just to remind them?
Certainly can. Yeah, so Offensive Player of the Year, your nominees are Blake Brandell, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, Josh Oliver, and Jordan Mason.
Connor, I don't know if we've got them in front of you there. What are your thoughts there? Connor, let's get your sort of immediate responses.
My thoughts
Have we missed anyone out?
No, I don't think you've missed anybody, but I think my thoughts are it was a tough year to be a fan of the Minnesota Vikings here in that short list. Dear me. Yeah. Oh, who would I go with? Josh Oliver had a year, man. Josh Oliver, like the numbers are never going to be gaudy, but Josh Oliver, if ever Josh Oliver was going to win Offensive Player of the Year, this might be the year for it to happen. That would be where my vote would go out of that shortlist.
He certainly didn't light it up in terms of yards, but yeah, he was a big producer in touchdowns. I think 4 on the season, 6 was Jordan Mason with the lead. But
he wasn't even signed as that. He was signed as a run blocking guy. So that's impressive.
And memorable plays as well. They're plays that stick in your head that you're like, oh, that was a really important down, and he stepped up. So I think that was that. Okay, so here are your Defensive Player of the Year nominees. We got Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner, Jalen Redmond, and Eric Wilson.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's a far richer field.
Stronger category that we feel. Yeah. But who jumps out at you there, Connor?
I like Eric Wilson, man. I don't think anybody expected the production out of him that we saw. And he had the Dolphins helmet too. He was nice. When Blake went down early, I would go Eric out of that. Gink was great, but he wasn't previous year Gink. It wasn't outstanding. And obviously his ceiling, he set the bar very high. I would go Eric Wilson.
Yeah, Gink was missing for a bit with injuries, as were Cashman and Grenard. And then you've got the likes of Jalen Redmond, who was a bit of a dark horse. But I don't know if he was like the best player on defense, but he was certainly a producer. And then obviously we've seen like the proper birth of Dallas Turner as a potential starter next season.
Yeah, possibly, especially if if Grenard potentially gets used as trade bait. But we'll
Indeed.
cover that. That's another show. I'm
Is Joe
sure.
Burrow
That's
coming?
off
Do you
season.
guys know? Is Joe Burrow coming to the Minnesota Vikings? Is that real?
I cannot say. My sources have not told me yet.
No. I got a call for earlier today, but I'm sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
Oh, my phone's buzzing here. Hold on.
Darren's better connected than me. I mean, we could be speaking right now to the Vikings' next starting QB.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I'm on NFL Network, and suddenly I've got to run out to take a
Ian
phone call.
Rappaport's here.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
Shall I get you
right?
to
Let's got a couple more categories to get through. So, most
let's get
improved
through
player
these.
of the year. Do you want to do that one?
Most improved player of the year. So JJ McCarthy, it's very easy to improve on not playing at all the previous year.
Yep.
Jalen Redmond, obviously a fantastic player. Will Reichard nominated as well. Dallas Turner, and then another one for Josh Oliver.
It's got to be between Redmond and Turner. And if you're talking most improved, it's probably Turner. Given the lack of production he had in his rookie season and how much production he had this year, I'd go Dallas Turner, based purely on the category itself of most improved. That was the biggest jump.
Yep, absolutely.
I think I'm with you.
Rookie of the year, right, is the next category, which I get to read out. We didn't quite have, let's be honest, enough rookies to fill this category. So here goes. Donovan Jackson. Ben Urasek, the tight end, who played a few snaps for those that like, who the hell is that? Then we had
was really
Donovan
scraping
Jackson,
the barrel at this point.
Donovan Jackson, Miles Price, and Ty Felton.
Yeah. Price did a good job, but I think you kind of have to give it to the guy who played the most this season.
Yeah, it's got to go to the starting guard, doesn't it?
Actually, I just read. I wrote Donovan. We had Donovan Jackson twice in there. That's why
we did have Donovan Jackson in twice. Yeah,
because we just couldn't be bothered to try.
He's so good. He got in twice.
Exactly.
I mean, we could have said like Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, but because he played a bit, but getting in ahead of the likes of Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Jalen Redmond himself, and Levi Drake Rodriguez, it was always going to be tough for the rookie to make an impact at that position.
Actually, do you know what? Miles Price did a really nice job in the return game. Those hidden yards are big. So there's an argument for Miles Price to be there too.
I mean, he was an excellent returner. Like the biggest issue with him is not really an issue with him exactly. It's all the penalties that meant that his returns got brought back. He would have had so many more yards in his stat sheet. Like you don't see him because they all get pulled back for essentially no play. He did have a few muffs on some kick return like catches, but that was early in the season, and
I had a few rookie mistakes, but every one of those rookies probably had a few rookie mistakes. So I agree.
They're called
I think
rookie
Mark
mistakes for a reason.
Has a shout. But yeah, Donovan Jackson I think is probably the strongest candidate in that category. But it's open. Votes sometimes don't go the way you think. Right, off-field personality of the year.
Shall I run through those?
You run those, and then I'll do the
you'll do player of the year to end. So off-field personality of the year, the nominees are Harrison Smith, Jonathan Grenard, Josh Metellus, Justin Jefferson, and JJ McCarthy. A lot of J's in there.
Can I go? Can I shoot?
Oh yeah, please.
Justin Jefferson, purely based off the photographer video that we saw. That was awesome. Nobody thought JJ had that in his locker. Like, that was awesome. I'll go JJ, 100%. End of debate.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think McCarthy. I nominated McCarthy because I thought that like the way that he dealt with the adversity that he faced this season was really, really good, because that's by definition isn't an off-field thing when you're struggling with injuries and stuff. But in terms of personality, it kind of has to be Justin Jefferson, doesn't it? You know, he had as you say, the photographer video, but also there was one where he was like doing it wasn't a Make-A-Wish thing. It was like, but for kids in a local.
It was it was his own foundation.
It was a children's hospital thing. Like grittying with 6-year-olds. It's exactly what you want to see from your star wideout.
Okay, so that is with the final category, which is the play of the year. And the nominees for this are, I have to read this, so I'm not going to remember this off the top of my head. The Will Rijkaard 62-yard field goal versus the Bengals. Cam Akers to Josh Oliver touchdown pass versus the Browns in London. JJ McCarthy's fake handoff touchdown run and awful gritty into the touchdown, into the end zone versus the Cowboys. Carson Wentz to Jordan Addison's touchdown versus the Browns, also in London. And then finally, the Jordan Addison 65-yard touchdown run versus the Detroit Lions on Christmas Day.
Oh, I'll break this one down. This is easy. This is easy. Will Reichard 62, that's a chip shot in the modern NFL. Second one, the second one was the trick play, the Cam Akers pass. That was a wide open touchdown. That's nothing particularly special. What was the third one?
The JJ McCarthy fake handoff.
He walked into the end zone. There's nothing special about that. And the fifth one, Jordan Addison, that was a great play, but it was in a nothing game against Detroit. Carson Wentz in London, when we were still 2-2 and in with a fighting chance for the season, that ball that he threw to Jordan Addison, that's an elite throw. Like an elite throw, and it was an elite catch in a moment where it really mattered. That is 100% play of the year, and I don't think it's particularly close.
The quarterbacks union is definitely in evidence here.
Yeah, there's a bit of bias there, but whatever.
It'd be hard pressed to disagree with that. Like it was a pivotal play in certain. Well, it was the winning touchdown in that game, and so many of us got to see it live. Many of us were in, like many of the fan club members. We were all in the stadium that day. So
just about.
Well, just about. You managed to get in by the end of the fourth quarter.
Ticketing issue, yeah, bloody ticket things. But anyway, that's enough.
Anyway,
right. So so obviously those are the nominations. They're going to be open on our socials for another week or so. But
just a few days.
They are there now. You can obviously steer from Connor's views if you so wish, or you can vote however you see fit. Or you can just randomly put in other names in the comments that aren't even part of the nominations. It won't count.
I'd love to know.
But it's always interesting to see your thoughts. Right, so TPJ, you are going to take the lovely job that Reese would normally perform in terms of describing and telling all of our 3 listeners and 1 viewer of the ways that they can get in contact with us or view our content and so forth and so forth.
Yes, indeed. So obviously, all those votes are available for you to make on all of our platforms, except Blue Sky. I don't think we managed to get polls to work on Blue Sky, but I don't think many of you are on there anyway. But if you want to check us out on Blue Sky, we'd be happy to have you. We are at UKIRE Viking Fan Club. So there's UKIRE Viking Fan Club, .bsky.social. If you want to find us on any other platform, literally just search for UK and Ireland Minnesota Vikings Fan Club. It doesn't exactly trip off the tongue. Maybe you'd like to suggest a new name for the club. Like I think we'd happily take suggestions, although it would take a monumental effort to change all of our branding now. But yeah, you can find us on.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But we'd love to hear some. Like we could have a nickname. We could be the Skull Squad, and literally don't suggest that because it's terrible. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Discord. And you can even email the podcast at ukvikespod@gmail.com. That's ukvikes pod@gmail.com.
And thank you for making that take longer than Reese normally makes it take, which I didn't think was possible. Excellent. Thanks very much. Right. I think that's it. I am
trying to put everyone out of their misery.
Exactly. I think I can hear the nurses and the doctors. They are having to get the keys from the asylum back off me. So I am going to get out of here as quickly as possible and get back into my bed. But thank you, Connor. Thank you, TPJ, for joining me on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. Probably.
It might happen again. You never know. I get to decide, content lead.
Exactly. So there's only one more thing to say, and that is Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
And I would be wrong not to go. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Ta-da!